You're leaning over a sink at 6 a.m. Toothbrush in hand, half asleep. It's automatic. You don't even think about it. But somewhere in the fossil record, someone else was doing this exact motion, cleaning their teeth, and they didn't have a toothbrush, or toothpaste, or even a bathroom. So who figured it out first? And how far back does that habit actually go? Here's the thing. This isn't some minor hygiene footnote. Tooth decay was a serious threat for most of human history. No dentists, no painkillers. A bad cavity could kill you. So the question of who first fought back against it says something bigger about how early humans survived at all. Let's start with the oldest hard evidence. In 2017, researchers studying Neanderthal fossils from Croatia found grooves worn into the teeth. Tiny, repetitive scratches. The likely cause, something thin and fibrous, dragged between the teeth over and over. A proto-toothpick. Those Neanderthal remains date back roughly 130,000 years. That's not a typo. Toothpicking may be older than modern humans as a species. And it gets stranger. Dental plaque, actual calcified plaque, called calculus, has been recovered from Neanderthal teeth at Spy Cave in Belgium. Scientists studying that plaque in a 2017 study published in Nature found traces of medicinal plants, including poplar, which contains a natural pain compound related to aspirin. One individual had a dental abscess. He was self-medicating. With plants. 50,000 years ago. So the obvious assumption that real dental care started with ancient Egypt, with fancy tooth powders and priests, turns out to be way too late. And way too narrow. Egypt does show up in the record. A tooth powder recipe survives from around 1550 BC in the Ebers Papyrus, made from things like powdered ox hooves, ashes, and burnt eggshells. But that's not the beginning. That's a refinement of something already ancient. Here's where it gets interesting. Long before Egypt, long before written language, humans across multiple continents were independently chewing on sticks. Not randomly, deliberately, archaeologists call them chew sticks, and they show up on nearly every inhabited continent. One end gets frayed by chewing until it turns into soft bristles. Rub that against your teeth, and it works surprisingly well as a brush. The Babylonians were doing this by at least 3500 BC, using twigs from aromatic trees like neem and licorice root. And it wasn't just convenience. Neem contains natural antibacterial compounds. These early humans may not have known the chemistry, but somehow, generation after generation, they landed on a plant that actually fought the bacteria causing their tooth decay. But wait, if humans have been fighting cavities for over 100,000 years, why did dental disease still explode later, in agricultural societies? You'd expect things to get better with more tools, not worse. Turns out, the shift to farming made things worse before they got better. Studies of ancient skeletons show a dramatic spike in cavities once populations moved from hunting and gathering to grain-based diets. Sugar and starch feed the bacteria in your mouth. Hunter-gatherers, eating mostly meat, fibrous plants, and nuts, had remarkably clean teeth by comparison. Agriculture gave humanity bread. It also gave humanity toothache. In other words, the primitive equals worse teeth assumption is backwards. Some of the healthiest ancient mouths on record belong to people living tens of thousands of years before farming existed. Now here's the complication that ties it together. The most compelling piece of this whole puzzle isn't the plaque, or the chew sticks, or even the plant medicine. It's the pattern underneath all of it. Independently, across continents that had zero contact with each other, humans converged on the same basic idea. Something thin, dragged or rubbed between the teeth, again and again. Neanderthals in Croatia, Babylonians in Mesopotamia. Later, chew stick users in Africa, India, and the Americas. Nobody copied anybody. They all landed on the same solution. Because the problem, bacteria eating away at your mouth, is universal. The mechanism researchers point to is simple. Pain is a powerful teacher. A toothache is one of the most miserable things a human body can produce. Anywhere humans lived long enough to lose teeth to decay, they had brutal motivation to experiment. Sticks, fibers, plants, ash, trial and error, repeated across tens of thousands of years, converging on the same rough answer again and again. So the next time you're standing at the sink, toothbrush buzzing away, remember, you're not doing something modern. You're doing something a Neanderthal in a cave in Croatia was already doing 130,000 years before your bathroom existed. Same fight. Same instinct. Just better plastic. If you've got a weird personal habit you bet is way older than you think, drop it in the comments. This channel might dig into where it actually came from. Same instinct. Just older teeth.